are higher than it not being a simulation, just
Yeah.
because of unusual anomalies like the double slit experiment. That seems to be
Mm.
the main one. That's like the smoking gun that we are
Mm.
living in a simulation when they can fire
Mm.
these particles at a board, and if you're observing it, it does exactly what you expect it to do. But as soon as no intelligent individual or no intelligent entity of any type, electronic or otherwise, is observing, it behaves in a completely random way that doesn't make sense. That goes
Mm.
back to what Einstein said when he was having the debate about whether or not we live in an alternate reality or a simulation, and
Mm.
we were talking about that very thing, and Einstein got very upset, and he's like, the moon's not the moon because a mouse looks at it. And then he thought about it for a minute, and well, no, actually the moon is the moon because a mouse looks at it. So what do you think about
Mm.
that? I mean, when you think
Mm.
about, if you I mean, it's, I know it's heavy, but what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're in the Matrix?
Yeah, well, I mean, it comes down to how you define a simulation, but I mean, we talk on some of the shows we've done on spiritual topics about how, consciousness is really comes prior to the material world. So you're looking at not just the quantum wave that you reference, but also the information theory. Information is permeating throughout the universe, particularly mathematical information. And this is not being dreamed up by any person. This is really a reference to intelligent design, that the universe can't have just come into reality by accident. It has to be coming from conscious direction. So that's something Vince has talked a lot about in his books.
I've spoken a lot about how consciousness is the prima materia. And Erwin Schrödinger himself, the great physicist, he said that there was nothing that he knew about physics that was incompatible with Advaita Vedanta, which is, of course, the Hindu view that consciousness is the prima materia and that the world is essentially a dream. And that's basically what I
Mm,
believe. I don't believe it's a simulation so much as a dream, which is really just the same as the dreams that you have at night. Last night I had a dream I was in another world, and it's really the same thing as this. My consciousness was the basis of reality, and my consciousness had contents that appeared to be a material world, but which was in reality just a dream. So I think this is also just a dream. Therefore, I'm not afraid of death at all. I'm not afraid of the judgment of God or any of the religious nonsense that got pumped into my head as a child. I believe in karma and reincarnation, and so I think that I'll
yeah,
get what I deserve on the other side of the death of my physical body. I have no fear.
yeah, yeah. Um, it is I don't know. I love these types of conversations to speculate and theorize on different things. And dreams are a big one for me. I love dreams. I don't know. I found out recently that I'm one of the rare ones that remembers his dreams. Like, I can remember dreams
Mm.
that I had whenever I was like not even in school. I think I was like 4 or 5. I can remember, my memory goes back to whenever I was in the crib about 2 years old. I can go all the way back,
Mm.
So these dreams, they typically stay with me. And I often,
Mm.
like, I even ask my son in the mornings, I always ask him, good morning, did you sleep good? Did you have any dreams? Because I like hearing about what those dreams are and how they connect. And sometimes it connects in a way where you can't help but go, whoa, wait a minute. That's, hang
Mm.
on. And so is your consciousness just kind of, maybe the real us is out there, and like you said, maybe this is a dream. Maybe this is just one of the dreams that consciousness steps into. And when we go to sleep, we see some of the other realities that are out there, just glimpses of them, but our mind can't comprehend
Mm.
it. But we kind of have an echo of it. I mean, it's fascinating to think about it. And whenever you start mixing it into religion and reading religious texts from various different religious viewpoints, it kind of makes sense to me, anyway.
Yeah, it all makes a lot of sense. That's why I don't think what we're seeing so much is the death of religion. But yeah, people have to take into account that in the Western world, we had religions already in the pre-Christian age. We had religions that did the job of religions. They did everything that religions needed to do. And then those religions were replaced by Christianity. And now Christianity has been replaced by atheism. But atheism itself, that has to be replaced by something in its turn. Otherwise, we're going to stay in this nihilistic state. And that's why I really enjoy talking about all the spiritual stuff, because I think it's going to come back. I think we're
Yeah.
going to see a big occult revival, a big spiritual revival. And we're going to see that once people realize that there's nothing more for us in the economic world. They're increasing the GDP. If we would double New Zealand's GDP, that's not going to solve any of our spiritual crises. We could increase it by 10 times. It's not going to change anything. We're still going to have these problems.
Yeah.
And so I think people are realizing now that the economic world, the world of just making money and getting wealthy, that's pretty cool up to a point. But once you've got to that point, then there's no more value in making more money, and you have to deal with these spiritual questions.
Mm. Have you?
Yes.
There's a program, a short documentary miniseries on Netflix, and it's by a friend of mine actually, Graham Hancock, and
Oh, nice.
it's about ancient disasters, and it kind of highlights like all over the globe, these sites. You got the pyramids of Giza. You've got the Aztec. You've got you've got these pyramids all over and he highlights one that's here in New Zealand that the initial investigations around it seems as if though this is a big pyramid structure that's buried, that's covered, which it would be, because even the Aztec, the pyramids in Mexico, they were covered up at one time. You couldn't see them. They were cleaned off. They were they were exhumed, if you would. And we may have that in, and it gives he really paints a beautiful outline of the possibility that the world was completely different, but it had a technology that we don't understand and we don't have access to today to do the things that they did, and the connections and the way that the world worked back then. And if you haven't seen it, look it up, because it is really fascinating. That would be a good one. And maybe I can get Graham in and we could have a conversation about that particular site. In fact, would be fascinating.
Because he
He
was
smokes a lot of weed.
on Joe Rogan, wasn't he, talking with another
Yes.
guy about these plasma generators, these
Yes.
so-called thunder generators, right? And the emissions were putting out pure oxygen, which is just perfect for the environment, and they were generating a huge amount of energy out of plasma, which you could essentially create from the hydrogen out of water and that sort of thing. So if that technology ever gets off the ground, it really threatens a lot of big corporations like power companies and that, because they don't want free energy going out to the public. That's the sort of thing that Nikola Tesla was trying to do, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Joseph Farrell wrote a book called the Giza Death Star, talking about the pyramids were actually exactly that. They were energy sources at a particular time, and it went around the world, and that's why you see these big structures. But it also has been suggested that it's not so much, I mean, it had those properties, but also every once in a while the earth just does a shake you off like a dog would when it's wet, and it's safer to be in big structures that you can probably get out of when it gets buried than you can in your little huts and things, because we have underground structures, we have above ground big structures, and it's, you know what I mean? It's just like there's something there that tells us maybe. So when we talk about the end days, maybe we're the last, and even though we have all this technology at our fingertips, we're still too dumb to realize what's coming, and this is the end days. Who knows?
Well,